seconds for. Hey, it's live. It says that we're on air, guys. My name is Dave Shrein. I'm an online entrepreneur. I love helping other entrepreneurs get unstuck when it comes to launching their dreams online, what it is they feel they've been wired to do, and just get all that silliness that keeps them from launching out of the way. And I'm super stoked, which I always am when I'm talking with people on Periscope and on Google Hangouts and everything, because I get to hang out with somebody who I've been dying to spend a little bit of time with. And her name is Erin Smith. She is the Starters Club, if you've been following her on Periscope or Twitter. And finally, we decided to make a conversation happen. And today we're talking all about launching your product or your business on Periscope, because you can make a lot of money. Isn't that true, Erin?
It's very true. And thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a ball. So first and foremost, I mean, I said very briefly what I do. A lot of people, who follow me, they already know that. But just tell us really quickly, for those of you who, for those out there who haven't been following you, which they should, because I am, and I think everybody that I follow is brilliant. And that just points back to my brilliance, I guess. I don't know. But tell them a little bit of who you are and your story. And I know you started a couple businesses, just so people have a frame of context for, what we're going to be talking about, just very briefly.
Yeah, so as you said, my business is the Starters Club, and I help people go from concept to business, and really it doesn't necessarily have to be an online business, but all the different ideas of how you could truly label yourself an entrepreneur. And I've started and sold 2 of my own businesses now. I bought out a competitor, sold them. So I've had experience in business, and I'm really about taking very simple concepts, but doing big things with them. And that's what I teach my students. I do a little bit of coaching, but mostly through online programs is where I run. And that's everything I do over at the Starters Club in a nutshell.
Very cool. So when Periscope first came on the scene, I latched onto it immediately. And the reason why is because I've always said that I know that I do well when I get FaceTime with people. And I know that if I can get FaceTime with them, I can help them understand, you talk about simple concepts. I can help them understand the simple concepts that I'm trying to, profess, and then twist them in a way that makes sense to people who have never necessarily given thought to that. So Periscope has been a huge win for me in growing my business and my reach, because it allows me to kind of be at my best. And again, I take, simple ideas or complex ideas and put them into very simple format, package them, ship them off in 5-minute, 10-minute scopes. How have you been, what is it that you're doing right now, and how have you been incorporating Periscope into that?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, because what's so funny about Periscope is, like, right before it came out, I said to JJ, my fiance, I'm like, God, when I speak, people get it. I just need to be able to do more than just, and so all of a sudden Periscope came out. I'm like, boom, I ask and you shall receive. But I've been using it as a way to really gain authority. Like you said, it's that know, like, trust factor immediately. So where people, it's funny on Periscope too, all the time I get asked, like, well, who the hell are you to be talking about this? Like, how can you be talking about business? And so people are very skeptical nowadays. Mm-hmm. So the primary thing and what we've been talking about is
primary. I like that.
Primary. I know. I'm like,
now on, I was like, primary thing.
It came out weird. But I've been using it the past 3 months for my book launch and building up to a book launch. And I think that's what most people need to understand, is that it's not about, I jumped on Periscope today for the first time, I told people what I'm all about, and hey, buy from me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. You got to build trust for a while. And so for me, what's been really fun about Periscope is I've brought people behind the scenes. My community, it's not just, when you're launching anything, it shouldn't be, when you launch, should not be the first day anybody hears about what you're launching. Right?
Yeah.
It should be a process. So for me, it's been a process. I've brought in my Periscope community to pick out the book cover, to watch me behind the scenes of putting this all together, to step them through the process of what I've been going through, to ask them different questions. And so it's been this build up to something really fun versus, hey guys, I just did a Periscope and now buy this from me because you should really like me. Like, it's been a community building thing. And I think people need to be, your strategy needs to be long haul.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such a temptation though, like, tell me if you agree with this. There's such a temptation that we get all excited about a product that we just finished, or a blog post that we just published, or a photo that we just snapped. We get so excited about those things that we fail to kind of put the connection that nobody else in the world is thinking about it right now. Nobody else in the world even cares about what it is right now. And so we'll launch something, we'll finish it, we'll complete it, and we'll launch it. And it's met with tepid, response, if even that, because nobody knows about it. They don't know why they should be excited about it. They don't know why it's a game changer. They don't even know, sometimes they don't even know who you are. And it's just like, who's this guy? And again, that skeptical piece comes back into it. And so, it's so tempting though, because of that excitement, to feel like, oh, I'm gonna get out there and start selling it right away, when you haven't even tested the waters. And what I found, and tell me if you have any examples that go along with this, is even if you sit on it, unless it's something that's incredibly timely, like you're talking about the launch of the football season and all of a sudden you put your product down there when the football season's almost over, unless it's like timely, that product that you finish today is going to be just as effective 3 weeks from now, after you've put together a marketing strategy and kind of, put out the feelers and kind of put out the marketing. And there's no need to necessarily rush it, even though you feel so excited. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think too, we all get so excited for that initial, like when it goes out. But you do have to think long term too. How can you continue the momentum and the movement on it, so it's not just, here it is, buy it, and then let's go. And I think Periscope, people just want to get on there and be like, hey, just buy my stuff. Oh, well, nobody bought it. It's like, no, build. And you can always continually, like you said, if you can evergreen it, pull it back, bring it up. It's not launch and you're done talking about it, but really keep, the momentum. I can't stress that enough too. Like, that's been this whole, today is the soft launch, tomorrow is the big launch. And then there's a strategy all through September to continue talking about this. It's not just, okay, we're done, launched it, time to go on to something new.
So take me through this process then. Take me through the process of, you said that you were using Periscope to help launch this book. And obviously, your book is coinciding with your brand. It's all about starting. But, as you kind of, walk us through the process, share with us how you connected it to the book, and give us a vision for, man, if I'm trying to launch this, this little PDF guide that I've put together, if I'm trying to launch this training video that I put together, give us a little bit of a prescription, as to what you did, and maybe cast a little vision for how we should be thinking about it as we move forward.
Well, first things first, what I did, this was kind of by accident, I'll be honest with you. This was not strategy, but I was like, wait a minute, this turned into a good idea. So I was reading, I'd made a commitment to myself to read once a week, a book a week. And so I said, you know what, I got on, a couple of my first Periscopes were about the books I was reading. And then I said, instead of me just telling you about, why don't you all read with me? Yeah. So I started to build a community of readers. That was just by accident, kind of. And so I was like, you know what, this will be perfect. Then when it comes time for my book will be the pick of the week. And then I just, like I said, it was really building a lot of the principles. I would do lessons about the principles in what I taught in my book. So there was that, finding people who were really interested in what I was talking about. And it wasn't that I kept saying, well, I'm going to teach this in my book, but it was just really making sure you're connecting with the community. Followers don't matter if they really aren't quality followers. Like, I mean, if they aren't going to connect with you, if they're not going to, be interested in what you're offering, it's no point in having followers. I'd rather have 50 people who are committed and connected to me than 5,000 who don't know my name when I show up in their feed. Yes. So it was really important to continually build that and offer like I was doing value, just because I didn't want to constantly be asking, because the book launch was so important to me that I didn't want to be ask. And when the book came, they're like, God, this chick just constantly, that's all she cares about is, offering and asking. I wanted to build a community where people were appreciative and wanted to help me. Yeah. I think the other side of it was, I think with Periscope, there's a vulnerability there that you kind of have to let down. A lot of people feel they need to be this really, I'm prim and proper, I know what I'm talking about, where I asked for help for the first time ever in my life. I don't ask for help. It's not in my genes. It's not what I do. But I really, truly, the part of it was getting people involved in this with me versus I'm writing a book now, buy it. So
Yeah.
it was, hey, I'd love, people were like, I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you, which that's the type of community you can build. It's not just, okay, I'll buy it, but I want to see you succeed. I want to actually help you with this, not just buy it. And I actually had to let a guard down, which I'm not used to doing, and ask for help and say, "Oh, sure, I'd love for you to help me," which usually is like, I got it, I'm good. But then, like I said, it was really just the process along the way. I would wait to, when my cover art or my cover came, it's like I waited. I was out of the house and I got the email and I was like, oh, I want to open this email so badly, so badly. And I'm like, I'm going to wait so I can get home and open it for everybody on Periscope and just be in those
Oh.
moments. So it was, and like they'd see me, like the other day I opened the package of the book for the first one and I was crying, and it was just kind of that raw emotion that they really got involved with it. So that's where I would say with people, like, add the value where you're really connecting with your ideal audience. Don't just throw out stuff to throw out stuff. And second, make them a part of it. Don't just tell them what you're doing. Bring them in and make them a part of it. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to just go buy it, and have them help you versus just purchase. I think it's just such a different relationship there, when you have a true community versus just buyers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people want buy-in. I mean, that's the term we're actually like getting to here is the idea of buy-in. And anytime, you point out to somebody the giant elephant in the room, they'll be like, ah, no, that's not even there. But the second that they identify what it is, it's like, oh yeah, wow, you did notice that. Good for you, and they're able to own it and they're able to kind of make the adjustments that they need. And, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but I worked in a church for like 10 years and I was actually a pastor on staff. And there was a lot of things when people come in to any type of person who's in that place, that type of authority, whether it's a counselor or a psychologist or whatever, when they're going to some sort of an authority figure, it's easy for us to sit back and know exactly what to say, right? But when you sit back and you actually let them do the talking, they give buy-in to their own solution and they come up with whatever the solution would be in the first place. Well, that's essentially what you're talking about here is you're essentially talking about bring people into the fold, allow them to give feedback, allow them to feel like a piece of them is inside of that book so that when it comes out, there is a connection to be made beyond just topic, person, buy the book, right? Like it's an actual like, wow, I've been with her on this journey and she's sharing, not only this part with me, but she's also sharing these other parts that I don't normally get to be a part of. And I'm sure your audience was hugely appreciative of it, weren't they?
I got a lot of thank yous. I got a lot of, because and I think there's two components with Periscope, and you could do this with any product, not just a book. Like when you're putting together an online program, before you put it together, ask your community what they need help with, and get on those. As you're teaching a particular subject, open it up for Q&A and just say, hey, where do you guys struggle? I mean, then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this program is exactly for me. And the second part of Periscope, I totally forgot what my second point was. I was so
That's
excited
okay.
about
I
that
forget
first
what my
one.
second points are all the time. I can always remember the third, fourth, and fifth. The second one always just gets me.
Oh, that I know what it is. Like kind of with that point of the expert, like I just showed there was what, so talking about people being appreciative, there was one whole thing I did a Periscope. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was recording the audio version of my book. And I sat there for a long time and I'm like, God, would anybody find this interesting? Like, I'm not a book publishing expert. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can show them the setup, I guess. And so I recorded and just showed them behind the scenes. And I'm not, what's so important about Periscope is that you don't have to be the numero uno expert. You just have to be you sharing your journey along the way.
Oh,
And so
that's
I didn't get
say that
on
again.
it.
Say that again.
I can't say it again. You don't have to be an expert on Periscope. You just have to share your journey along the way.
Yes.
And that's what people appreciated so much of what I would do is like, hey guys, okay, by no means do I know what I'm doing, but let me show with what I've learned so far and where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I would get emails from people saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing that Periscope. I'm a few feet behind you on, where I'm going with this. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And what was so amazing, as you're sharing that, you get people on there who will help you. So I had people like where I had quite, I'm like, I'm not quite sure about how to do this, and people were appreciative of the information I was sharing, and then people were jumping on and offering advice. I'm like, how great is that? Like, you can't be, bring a community any better than that.
Yeah. So I don't know, Thomas J Creates, which this is the first time I've ever seen you on Periscope, Thomas. So thanks for hanging out with us. But he has a couple really cool things that he wrote. One is something that I kind of agree with a little bit, but just like he says, just don't say the word guru. And I kind of like that because I try to stay away from words like expert or guru or like whatever the phrase is, just because ninja. Yeah. Although I will say real quick, there's somebody out here in Arizona. His company is called the Green Ninja Pest Control. And it's not like Ninja Expert. It's like Ninja, like we go in and we like, get to where all of the places that they're hiding and kill all the bugs. So I kind of like that. But other than that, yes, keep away from the word ninja. But he says, just don't say the word guru. And then the other thing that he said, and I really liked, he said, share who and what you believe, who you are and what you believe, and your passion will sell that belief. And I couldn't agree more. People are attracted to you the more you lean into who you are. And the more they are attracted to you, the more they will buy what you say. And I'm not talking like buying money. I'm talking like buy into the things that you're saying. So I absolutely love it. And so for those who are watching on Google Hangouts, we'll take questions on Twitter if you just want to tweet at Dave Shrein or tweet at the Starters Club. But if you're watching on Periscope, it's Erin Smith and I just talking about this idea of how to launch your business or your product using Periscope and actually translate that into money. And so if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about, feel free to just type in the comment section and let me know what it is you would like to, have answered, and we'll make that happen. So let's talk a little bit more. So now you've got the actual book. Now, does the book relate to what it is that you talk about on Periscope? Like, how closely related is it? Is it right up the alley of the people who you've been building a tribe with, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do two kind of different focuses on Periscopes. One of them is really where to get started, how to build a business. I talk about different ideas of where you can roll with it, because that leads into an opt-in of 50 different ideas of different businesses you could start. So I show behind the scenes of what to do. Like, I was working with a client, they go from an idea to a business. How do you roll with this? How do you make money? So that I'd say 50% of my scopes are along that route. Mm-hmm. And the other 50% are along newbie entrepreneurs trying to get momentum in your business. I teach people from a marketing perspective, you don't need a ton of money. You just need more hustle and creativity, the less money you have. Mm-hmm. And so I teach different things. Like this week, our challenge is all around, somebody's saying the book is awesome on Scope. Thank you, Jen. But I teach all around, how to do that, how to build that momentum. So even if you started a business, it really is about the fundamentals of business, how to get it right, how to get in the right mindset. And then, I talk a little bit about unique selling proposition, how to look at your competition in a good way, versus a lot of people will get this brilliant business idea and then they go online and they see somebody else has it and they're like, oh, done. Somebody already took it. It's like, no. That's a good thing. That means somebody's making money doing it. You just have to find your angle. And so just different things like that. So it's definitely been relating. And I want to quick get to the point too of your point of building a business. This would be the way to build a business. Show people behind the scenes of your business what you're going through, what it's like, where you're at, what you need to do next, and imagine how much people would be so invested in that. And then when your business goes live, they're totally a part of it. They're excited for you versus, hey guys, I launched my business, crickets.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's absolutely correct. My story is a little bit similar to that in that before I launched my business, there were a lot of people in my life who I basically kind of shared a little bit of my ideas. I would go over, I'd help them with their website or I'd help them with their graphics, and we'd learn more about one another. And the second that I said, hey, I'm going out on my own, I'm launching a business, I'm going to be doing this full time, those people became my advocates. And if they didn't have work for me right away, they started referring me to a bunch of people. Now, did all those leads turn into clients? No. But if they had, I would have collapsed immediately because I had no ability to support. The key is that they had kind of been along the journey, not even knowing that they were along the journey, seeing me grow and develop and put together the pieces that eventually became, hey, hire me to do this or to do that. And even still, I haven't done 1 ounce of advertising in terms of trying to get, cold calls or anything like that. Not cold calls, but like people coming in from Google ads or Facebook ads or something like that. All of my work has just come by referral. And that's the type you really want. But yeah, you bring people along the journey and then they are excited for you. So what are some of the things that, what are some of the creative ways that you've seen people launching products, ideas, or businesses on Periscope, or some of the things that you're hoping to be able to get to make happen? Just give us some ideas here of what we could be thinking. I see George Bruno said that he really wants to start a beard care product business. So if somebody's trying to start a beard care product business, what type of ways could you see them incorporating Periscope and helping them get that buy-in that we're talking about?
Well, I think first is just share, like we mentioned before, I can't stress enough about sharing where you are in your journey. So get people on, hey, I'm going to start this business. If you're at the very beginning, let's do a beard club unite type thing and get feedback from, right? Like, what do you guys need in your beard? Where are you struggling with? And just kind of make it a fun beard club over on Periscope and just get people figure out what they need. Like, that's your best ask, is get a community together and build that. So get guys together and just really start, and then show people, all right, this is where I'm at. This is where, and people are so scared about letting people in just in case somebody's going to take it. And Gary Vee is a big proponent of this because I love what he says. It's like, listen, it's not about the ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. It's about the execution. So even if you're telling people about your idea, how many of us had a bazillion ideas that we've never done anything about? And so it doesn't mean that anybody's going to look on Periscope and be, oh, the guy's building a beard community, I want that too. Well, if you're running with it and executing it well, who cares what your competitors are doing, right? Like, you've already built the community, let them run with it. So, and it's very unlikely that it's going to happen in the first place. So I'm all about like opening it up, letting people in, seeing what you're about. If it's products that you're specifically, show what it takes. Like, okay, I've got the products in from, I got the mold made. Now it's coming back from China. Here's where we're at with it. Looks like this is going to be the day. And just really make it fun, make it interactive, make it where they've got a piece, like they've told you what they need and that's what you're building, and then bring them along the way of it.
So one of the things that you mentioned, I actually meant to get to this right when you said it, but you talked about people getting frustrated when they go out there. George says, if I can get a guy in my chair for a beard shaving, then I can win him over for his hair too. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But people get so intimidated by somebody else being in the exact space. And I used to be the exact same way. I would look out and I would see people in the space that I wanted to be. I was like, well, why would anybody listen to me if this person's out there doing it? Well, the reality is that, if you look at whoever your hero is on Twitter, on Periscope, just look at how many people are following them and then lay that up against how many people are in the world. The truth is they probably have less than a fraction of 1% of any particular niche following them. I mean, you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, he has 1 million followers. How many people in the world are entrepreneurs? Way more than 1 million, or whatever he's at now. Mm-hmm. There are literally millions of people out there just waiting for somebody like you to start talking about the things that interest them. They don't like Gary Vee. I love Gary Vee, but they don't like him. They don't like the way he does business, or they don't like the way he talks, or they don't like that he talks about the Jets all the time, or they don't like how abrupt he is. Like, they just don't like him. And he's cool with that because he keeps on being who he is. He's not trying to please them. And the truth is that the people who don't necessarily connect with them, they may be waiting to connect with you. And then that's what I'll tell people. It's like, don't be intimidated by other people out there. Just like you said, like, be encouraged. There's people out there wanting to learn about the things that it is, you're ready to talk. And there's that old, parable, proverb, whatever. There's nothing new under the sun. And that's really true. Like, there is nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new.
The only thing that's new is your interpretation of whatever it is you're wanting to do. Like, that's never been created because there's nobody like you and you've never done it. And until you do, the world will never know what it's like, Oh,
I agree with that. And I always tell people, so, I always look at, okay, let's say a scale of 1 to 10, whatever, and maybe you're only a 4, right? So Gary Vee is a 10. Let's just use an example. And you're looking at Gary Vee going, who am I to even begin to compete with that, whatever. But the thing is, even if you're at a 4, there's a 3, a 2, and a 1 who are dying to learn. And I always use the example of paleo. I'm a big paleo eater. And when I started eating paleo, like, if you look at the Mark Sissons and the Rob Wolfs of the world, I don't know if you know who they are, but they're like ridiculous freaks of nature. Like, Mark Sisson is like 70 and he looks like he's 12. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. And so I look at that and I'm like, I could never eat paleo because he's a freak. Like, I can't ever be like that. Like, I don't think he's ever eaten a piece of sugar in his life. And I have like a sugar addiction. And so if he was the only person teaching this, no one would ever eat paleo because they would feel it was impossible. But you have all these different levels in between there of other people sharing their struggles. Listen, I eat it 6 days a week and I, slough off the last day, but it works for me and it becomes more relatable. So those high ups, like you said, they may not like them, but they may be intimidated by them and look at them and say, well, I don't want to pursue buying the jets like Gary Vee does. So therefore I would never be an entrepreneur. It's like, no, just if all you want to do is make $1,000 a month, go for it. Like, that's all you need to do. So understand that not everybody, they'll be super intimidated by that too. And maybe your lower level is right exactly where they need.
Yeah. Something that helped me get confidence to start going out there and speaking with authority and stop leaning on the phrase, well, this is what I think, and just saying this is what is, was the idea that I'm not teaching my peers and I'm not teaching people above me. I'm teaching people who are one step behind me in terms of getting to where they're trying to go. They're looking at where I'm at and they're thinking, man, if I could just get one step closer to that, well, those are the people that I really feel like I can help. So, if I'm trying to teach my peers, well, they just don't need me. They're my peers. Like, they're the ones who have already figured out that particular whatever, right? Like, they know their brand. But there's people who are just behind me who it's like exactly what you're saying, like, hey, come along with me and, let's figure this out together. And that's one of the things that I tried to use Periscope for. And quite honestly, I think that's been a big draw for people who have kind of stuck around with me on this journey, is they're like, hey, I'm only one step behind him and I'm learning stuff how to get to that next step. And so, my challenge now is to make sure that I keep taking steps forward so that, they're like, hey, I've passed you. And you know what, when that happens, it's like, congratulations, like graduation, like now get out there and start teaching other people too. So let's come back to the topic of your book. Who did you really write it for? I mean, you've got so many plates up in the air. You're spinning so many different things. Who did you really put it together for? And how does somebody on Periscope, who on Periscope, right now listening should be like, okay, I'm getting that right when we get off of here, or actually right now, because they can do two things at once.
Yeah, go get it now. You can go to it's Master the Launch or Master the Start, and it's available just on Kindle right now. It's all getting together, but it's available for just 99 cents right now this week. So grab it for that. So it's really that person. So the person who wants to start a business and they're trying to put the steps together, because I wanted to make a very specific point about this in the book. So I started the Starters Club from, I saw a gap in where people were teaching level Bs of how to start a business. But everybody forgot about the level A, like these are the exact steps. So I said, you know what, I'm starting a business where I'm going to teach those exact steps. But here's what I found is that I could give you the steps step by step. I could do the steps for you step by step. And there's still going to be people who make excuses as to why they can't do it. Mm-hmm. And, well, you don't understand, the you don't understands, blah, 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 whatever reason. So I really wanted to write the book from a perspective of, listen, you got to get in the right mindset. it's just like my book. This book should have been out 3 to 4 months ago. I had the steps that I needed to write a book, but this crap in my head was getting the best of me. So people have to realize, like, I can hand you everybody, I went through a lot of different books of entrepreneurship, and everybody's like, I need the steps. I need the steps. Well, if you need this, you can figure out the steps. And that's why I said, these are the 10 steps you truly need, because these are the ones that are going to get you out of your head. They're going to put the foundational pieces right in business, because a lot of people just jump in really having no idea what they're doing. And 3 months in, when they're not making the millions that they thought they were going to, they're done and they quit. And it's not that they were failing. It's that they didn't have their expectations set right.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I wanted to do. I see too many people falling short because they saw somebody come up overnight, and nobody came up overnight. They were, there was a whole backstory happening before they appeared. And you have to realize that that's unfortunately the same fate you're in, but with hard work, determination, step after step after step, you're going to get there. And so that's what the book is just those people really trying to get their feet to, trying to figure it all out, get their feet together, or get one foot in front of the other. And even the person who started, but they're flailing a little bit, I want you to realize you're like I said, you're not failing. You just got to course correct and keep going. This isn't the time to give up.
So I went to, have you ever heard of Infusionsoft?
Oh yeah. I have Infusionsoft. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay. I might have to ask you some questions, offline then.
Okay.
I went to their Icon conference out here in Arizona this past March, and one of the founders of Infusionsoft, his name was Brad Martineau. He no longer is with Infusionsoft. He has his own business, but he came back and he was giving a presentation just I don't even remember what it was about. It was something about the steps of business or something, probably similar to what your book is about, but completely different, underneath the Infusionsoft banner.
Right.
And one of the things that he said, which I really took away, and I think this is the way conferences go, you hear, a few 100,000 words, maybe a few million words, and you walk off with like 20 that you remember. And one of the 20 words that I remembered was, he said, the map will reveal itself when the car is in motion. And he hit the point really hard, because what he wanted people to understand is that you can have all these expectations, you can make all these plans, you can have everything, perfectly placed. But once that car gets in motion, once you get on the road, once you start building your business, it isn't until that point that you really realize what you need to do. Like, you don't know what detours are coming up. You don't know what construction is going to happen. You don't know what obstructions you're going to encounter. And it isn't until you actually launch that business, get out there and start building, that the map truly reveals itself, that the blueprint of what it is you're going to build actually becomes clear. And I thought that was just so helpful, because it kind of gave me permission to start without having a plan. Now, I had an overall direction, but I didn't have everything like in order. This is the way it will go. It was kind of like fumbling through, and it gave me a little bit of permission, I guess, to not fail, because I was fine with failure. I've experienced my fair share of it in my first year of business, but like, it gave me permission to not know. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I always correlate business to parenting. There is no parent in the world, even if you're like on your 10th kid and you've gotten through 9 children, when you bring that 10th child home, you don't have it all figured out, because you're going to get stuff thrown, like, do you know what I'm saying though? It's like, you think you do. And then that child is like a completely different child. And you're like, what? Everybody loved the swing. Now he hates the swing. What am I supposed to do? It's like, you never have it figured out. And yet we're okay with knowing that in parenting, because if we waited to have it figured out, nobody would ever have children. Yet that's the same thing that holds us back from starting a business, and it shouldn't be.
So we're going down memory lane here, because I went to Jeff Walker's product launch Formula Live thing out here in Arizona, because it's out in Arizona. I mean, it's just it's like a 20-minute drive for me. It's a no-brainer. And there was a lot of stuff at there that I was like, this really isn't for me. But there were a couple things, again, those 20 words that you walk away with. And one of the things that one of the speakers said, I think it might even have been Brendan Bouchard, but something along the lines of, everyone is just one step ahead of you. The only thing that separates me from you is the experience that I have. Everyone's just, what did he say? Just making it up as they go. Everyone's just making it up as they go. And Jeff Walker got out there. He goes, that point's true. He's like, I've made mistakes in my email marketing. And a week later, I see someone copying the mistake that I made because they think that I did it based upon some sort of a calculated, trend or whatever. He's like, no, it was just a mistake that I made. And everyone's just figuring it out. Nobody has got it all perfect. When you see somebody on Periscope talking, you're seeing them and they're authentic, but they're not necessarily 100% authentic doesn't mean 100% transparent. And so they're showing you who they really are, but there's things going on that you just don't see behind the scenes. And so, Doug Field says when you play the comparison game, you lose because you're comparing what you know to be true about yourself with what you don't know about somebody else. And so just this idea of nobody's got it all figured out. Do what you can to plan. Learn from books, learn from podcasts, get Erin's book, start going through the steps, put together a framework of, hey, this is going to be my approach, but realize it's going to change, level out those expectations, and be okay with not knowing necessarily what that next step is, because the person that you see and you're trying to be like, it's the exact same way. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
It's like Facebook. We all compare. We're like, oh, are we? So-and-so's such a better. They're in such a great marriage. Look at how happy they are, and they're like screaming at each other the whole thing. Then they stop just for that one brief moment to smile on the picture. Like I always, God bless my sister, but she's got these 3 kids, and she makes them pose in this scene where they all have their arms around each other and they're looking out. People are like, I know what's happening in that picture. She's screaming at her children to stand and act like they like each other, but yet the vision on Facebook is that her children have nothing but love for each other. And it's the same with business. We're comparing ourselves to the perfect Facebook life, and it's not. We're killing ourselves by doing it.
Yeah, too true. So, folks who have been hanging out with us on Periscope, if you guys have any questions or anything, we're kind of nearing the end here. So feel free to ask questions or just share your thoughts. I know that there were several people, Erin, when you started talking about execution, really, really resonated with that, because I think the execution is the hardest part. I mean, that's what your entire point was. And that's what Gary Vee's entire point was, is that execution piece. That's what separates the pros from the wannabes. Let's see. YS May Walsh says, you're comparing your private failures with other public wins. Ooh, I love that. I love the way she says that. And then Field of Social Claimed, I think is what it was.
Christine, yeah.
Was given some great encouragement there. So thank you so much. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them through. So Erin, where would you like to send people to connect with you, to take this conversation one step further? And where can they pick up your book?
So the book, like I said, it's on Amazon. If you go to bit.ly/ and I've got a sign here, Master the Start 2, that'll take you, hopefully I'm looking for me at Periscope to make sure I've got it centered. There we go. But that'll take you right to the Amazon book. And like I said, I've got it available for 99 cents today for the next couple days. So please, I would forever appreciate I'll beg. I ain't too proud to beg on this one. Let's just say that. But you can always join me. I do run a Facebook group. My website is The Starters Club, but I do have a Facebook group over at getabizstarted.com. It's where I'm really encouraging people to get rolling, get started in their biz. So everything I'm doing is over in that group, and it's getabizstarted.com. Very
cool. So, man, very cool was my first point, and then I had a second point, and I just forgot what it was I was going to say.
Good old Periscope. This is where.
Good old Periscope. Yeah. Well, it'll come back to me if it was worth asking. It'll come back to me, and maybe I'll have to tweet it out. So I haven't seen any questions come through, so I think we're pretty much good. Thank you so much for taking the time and actually making this happen with me and giving me the subtle and the gentle pushes that you have. My life has been kind of crazy recently, and there's so many things like hanging out with you and so many other things that I've been wanting to do, and so I'm glad that we actually made it happen. Able to talk with it. And I think that this conversation is going to help a lot of people. I just love pulling back the curtain a little bit and helping people understand a little bit of the, like the Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's happening that we don't necessarily know about. And it's kind of liberating to find out, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one dealing with this right now. So I appreciate you taking the time and pulling back that curtain for all of us.
Well, and I thank you, and I'm gonna gentle nudge you one more time in scheduling the podcast to come on. But if you want to do it around a timing of a launch or something, feel free to do it whenever. But
whoa, I think you got someone who's really giving me a hard nudge back there.
yeah, that's my crazy Daisy dog. So
what kind of dog is it?
she's I don't know if you noticed, I have 6 dogs, and she's
Whoa.
this mutt terrier who's crazy. She's crazy Daisy, and she's like 100 years old but never ages. So
And we love our dogs even in the middle of their craziness, don't we?
we do. I would, yeah. She'd take a bullet for me, is what I tell people.
That's sweet. All right, Erin, thank you so much. I'm going to shut down the
Awesome.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate this.
Yeah.